From the creators who brought you RuPaul's Drag Race and $1 Million Listing, this is World of Wonder's Wow Report. Things that make us go wow.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of the Wow Report, where we count down the top 10 things of the week that made us go wow.
Wow.
I'm Fenton Bailey, co-founder of World of Wonder, and joined by the legendary James St. James, host of Night Fever, our smash hit podcast about legends of the nightlife, and also Blake Jacobs, our producer.
Nice to be here.
Yeah, it is nice to be here. We're missing Tom this week. He's taking a few deserved days off, but we have, as a sort of special treat, we have a very special number one this week who will be joining us. Stay tuned for that surprise reveal.
Very excited, yes.
It is, yes. Let's kick off then at the very beginning. Number 10, James.
Number 10.
Orcas out of control. I want to talk about the attack of the orcas on the super wealthy. It is my favorite story of the year, I think, so far. I don't know if you've been paying attention, but the orcas have been, the orca whales have been attacking super yachts. They've been diving into it. They've been destroying the rudders and the propellers and putting holes, and they've been sinking them left and right. And rich people all across the Adriatic and the, off of Capri and Nice and everything. Yes, all their yachts are being sunken. It seems to be a coordinated effort by the orcas.
Pourquoi?
What?
Pourquoi?
Well, that's just it. I did a little bit of research this morning, meaning I Googled it. And it turns out that it started in 2020 with an orca named White Gladys, who was part of a pod off the coast of Portugal. Well, White Gladys was pregnant at the time, and we don't know if she was angry, if she was if it was some sort of PTSD or what it was, but she started ramming into boats, into yachts. And orcas are very intelligent animals, and they're very socialized, and they learn from each other. And so they all started learning from White Gladys to do this. And then they started teaching other pods, and other pods across the world are now taking on this new behavior that they never exhibited before.
I had heard, and I don't know if it was White Gladys, that one orca had been hit by a super yacht, and maybe like killed or seriously harmed, and that this is a revenge of the orcas.
Well, they do think a lot of behavioral, animal scientists, I'm just making up words, are marine biologists, maybe perhaps, think that it is a revenge behavior, and that they are trying to get revenge on, the sonar and the being hit and all that type of thing. But then there are other ones who say, no, this is just them playing. This is their idea of fun, is just to go up and start banging on these ships. And like I said, it has become a problem for the super rich. If you ever want to feel, these poor billionaires are losing their yachts left and right, darling.
Why do I feel that you're sort of a little Schadenfreude here? Right?
Well, it's true. It's true. Every time you see a picture of like Jeff Bezos on his yacht, there's always a bunch of memes underwords of like the orcas rubbing their hands together saying, "We're going to get you this time." And then, of course, when the submersible went under in Titanic, everyone was saying that it was the orcas who are coming for the billionaires again.
It sounds like that it could be a great movie in the lines of Cocaine Bear, like Orca, I hardly know her.
Yeah.
All right.
Orcas versus the billionaires or something.
Right.
Like that.
Orcas gone wild. I love it. All right. Number 9.
Number 9.
I watched that the brilliant documentary, The Stroll, on HBO which I talked about when the teaser trailer came out. But it's out now, and I think that everybody should watch it. It's the history of the meatpacking district and the mostly Black trans sex workers who worked there in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. And it's directed by Kristen Lovell and Zachary Drucker. And Zachary Drucker is somebody we've known forever. She's an amazing trans historian, an artist, a filmmaker, longtime friend of WoW. Kristen Lovell is somebody that I don't think the movie could be made without. Kristen was one of the homeless sex workers in the 80s and 90s. And she talks about her experience. And she says that many times she would sleep at the New York Public Libraries during the day. She would go to the New York Public Library so that she could get some shelter and sleep. And while she was there, sometimes she'd wake up and she'd start doing research on the history of transgenderism and LGBTQ people. And that she sort of self-taught herself to become a trans historian. And not only was she there, and she knows the girls, and she knows how to talk to the girls, and she knows their experiences, and she can relate to them in a way that probably no other filmmaker could. Um, she's just a fascinating person who has you're just gripped by her the entire time she's telling her story. And she brings a lot of the surviving girls back to what is now a very different meatpacking district. I mean, it's just and the shock of being back there brings up so many memories, and it's fascinating to watch. It's harrowing, it's challenging, it's upsetting. But like any group of people that find their tribe, these women all took care of each other and became family to each other, and they were there for each other during the most difficult periods of their life. And I mean, I'm getting choked up just thinking about it, because I sobbed. The whole thing is up, and there's so many great photos too from the time, from like Nan Golden and a lot of people who are out there photographing. It's something that I think everyone should watch. It should win all the awards. It's really amazing.
It's fascinating because it's an area that has to a little degree been documented in, there's a little bit of the Pier's life in Paris is Burning, of course.
Right.
And then there was there was the Pier Kids, the documentary Pier Kids.
I was going to say it was A Night at the Piers or something like that. Yeah.
And so, but you're right. It is startling. I mean, I was just there this week, and it's like Theory and Dion von Furstenberg and
Hermes
the Standard
and all of
fancy restaurants and high-end shops.
It's funny though, because the first opening shot is my old building, the Triangle building right there with, remember, Hellfire and Jay's, and it was
that was your building.
I lived there, yes, for years and years.
James, the things you must have seen.
Oh, good God. Well, because we got in free at Jay's because the music was so loud that they said, we understand you can't sleep, come down to Jay's. So I was there, but that's a whole other bowl of bananas. But anyway, the building itself has changed so much now, and you see this establishing shot of the building, the first shot, and then they're standing in front of it and talking for so much, and it is just, there's art galleries in it instead of Hellfire, and and there's a restaurant there. I mean, it's just crazy. It's just insane.
I think I'll show Nolan the film, actually. I'll make him watch it. So
yeah, it's a pretty, like I said, it's uplifting, but it's a challenging view.
I'm watching it this weekend for sure.
Yeah.
That is The Stroll, and it's streaming on Max. Okay, number 8.
Number 8.
Flightmare. I don't know if you've heard about it, but this last sort of 5 days or so, planes on the East Coast have been disrupted, supposedly, mainly in New York City, supposedly by bad weather. But the weird thing was, at the airport, nary a raindrop to be seen. So like where this bad weather was, I mean, there were a few thunder showers, but it wasn't like a deluge or anything.
But
And
wasn't it like all through the Great Lakes corridor going down through to
apparently so, conveniently at a distance and out of sight. But I have to tell you, I'm a wizened traveler, and I have a sort of sixth sense when you get to the airport. You can just feel something in the air, and you get that feeling that no planes are going to be taking off today. you know? But no, and this is why airlines really do aggravate me, is they never want to tell you your plane is not going to take off. They're like, oh, it's half an hour delayed. Oh, it's another half hour. Oh, now it's an hour. But
now the flight crew has to get off, and we have to switch flight crews.
Well, that's the best bit. And then they start drip feeding a narrative to you. And this was the best. It was so funny. Because at first I was annoyed, and then I was like, get over yourself. It's going to be fine. And the first thing that amused me was like, well, we don't have a plane. And I just thought that was so funny. And then they found a plane, and then they were like, we got the good news. We got the plane. Bad news. We don't have a pilot. And then about half an hour later, it was like, good news. We've got a pilot. Bad news. He's in Atlanta, but he's on the way. He'll be here soon. Like 2 hours later, finally, they did actually board the plane. So at that point, I thought, oh my gosh, I'm really gonna, really gonna take off. So we get on the plane, taxi along the runway, and then they stop. And they say, we just paused because there's quite a lot of planes ahead of us. I thought, well, that's reasonable. Half an hour goes by. And then they say, we're just going to turn off the engines to save fuel. They've closed the runway. And I've been there before. That's still okay because Thundershower comes in, close the runway, reopen it. But then they say, we've been given a new flight path to get around the storms, and it's going down south, and it's a longer route, which is good because it avoids the weather. But we won't have enough fuel, so we have to return to the gate to refuel. I'm thinking, well,
why wouldn't you just stop at another airport when you get to like Dallas or something?
Right. This is not looking good. So we head back to the gate, and then we stop short of the gate. And they're like, oh, I'm sorry, but we need to be towed into the gate, which, again, that happens. That's okay. But then after half an hour, they're like, sorry, we haven't moved, but there's some baggage carts in the way.
What?
And there's no one on the gate to move them. So then an hour passes, and then finally we get to the gate. And I'm like,
is no one with you this whole time? Do you have?
No, I was all on my own because I was there in New York, and I was flying back to do the book event with Bianca Del Rio at Barnes & Noble on Tuesday night. So then they tow us to the gate, and they're like, we've made it to the gate. Good news. Bad news, the pilot's timed out, and he's got to leave. So we got to get a new pilot. Sat there for an hour, and then this was the best announcement of all. They were like, hello, everybody. We're canceling the flight. Please get off the plane. And that was it.
I would have been fuming.
I just wasn't. I just thought it was so funny. And so get off the plane. And of course, there's no other flights that are available. Every single flight to LA from New York is booked up because it's now 11 o'clock at night. And bless Justin and Tom, they got me a flight leaving from Philadelphia the next morning. So I got up at like 4:30 in the morning, drove to Philadelphia, and flew back. And that's how I managed to get to the book signing event.
How long is the flight? How long is the drive to Philadelphia?
It's an hour and a half.
Oh, okay.
And then the flight's, the 5-hour flight. But as I'm driving to Philadelphia, I'm so excited because I'm like, I'm going to be back in LA for my book signing with Bianca Del Rio. I'm so excited that she's going to interview me and do a Q&A at Barnes & Noble at the Grove. I'm on my way. I get a text. Bianca Del Rio is stuck in New York and will not be able to get on a flight until Thursday. So, and then, of course, there is a happy ending to this because T.S. Madison, bless her, stepped in and did an amazing job.
An amazing job. She is so funny and so wonderful.
She really is.
Yeah.
And the sweetest thing Bianca was going to do the book, Screen Age book event on Tuesday, and it was her birthday that day. She was going to do it on her birthday. I mean, I was just so touched by Bianca and also by T.S. Madison. I mean, really, just such
You've
lovely.
had some really good luck with some of the people, you know, between Carson Kressley and Ronan Farrow.
Yeah. Really very honored and very excited actually, because going to do the Folkestone Literary Festival in the UK, and Russell Tovey is going to do it.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
How did you bag that?
You lucky bitch.
Yeah,
His husband is so hot too.
Well, he's not bad. I mean,
How do you know Russell? Is Russell a wild celebrity? Has he ever done anything with us?
He's been on Drag Race UK.
Oh.
And I mean,
and how did you reach out to Russell? What did you say? How did you do it?
I said, hey. No, I didn't reach out actually, but I did. The team that booked him on UK, I said, can you ask if you do it? So amazing.
Yeah, that's really cool.
I know. I mean, it's a tall order. Anyway, let's take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll carry on counting down the top 10 things of the week that made us go, wow. Blake, have you got a question for us?
I do. Do y'all know that song "We Didn't Start the Fire" by
We didn't start the fire.
It was
always burning since the world's been turning.
Billy Joel.
He sequentially lists things that happened, you know.
Yes.
Well, a new band has updated it. Can you guess what band covered and updated "We Didn't Start the Fire"? Just released.
Oh,
good question. I'm going to Google it over the break. We'll be right back with the answer here on the Wow Report on Radio Andy.
You're listening to World of Wonders Wow Report. Things that make us go wow.
Welcome back to the Wow Report on Radio Andy. I'm Fenton here with James and Blake. Tom is out this week, but we have a teasing question for you and an answer, in fact.
Yeah, I asked. So a new band has covered Billy Joel's song "We Didn't Start the Fire," which listed sequentially all these events that happened. What is the band that covered "We Didn't Start the Fire"
and has updated it with new things? I'm gonna have to say, I'm gonna give two different ideas here. One would be Arcade Fire, because we didn't start the fire, and Arcade Fire might be an idea. But it sort of sounds like something the Bare Naked Ladies would just toss off at the drop of a hat.
But could it be someone radically unexpected? But you did say band, so I guess it couldn't be Lil Nas X or
Taylor Swift.
Say that's a good idea. Or Maroon 5, maybe. So that's my guess.
Those are all good guesses, but it was Fall Out Boy.
Oh, that does make sense for them too. Yeah.
And they just spit out events that happened, and it's not even in sequential order.
Does it rhyme though?
It's not the same.
Oh, that's a shame. Well, because Billy Joel has been interviewed about that many times, saying would he ever do an updated version, and he says no. It stands on its own. It is what it is. I ain't ever gonna go through that one again. That was.
I love it. I love the idea of an updated version, but I don't think it was executed well. Sorry.
I will tell you this though, little trivial fact. No, it's not trivial. There is a podcast called We Didn't Start the Fire, hosted by Katie Patrick and Tom Fordyce, and they go devote an episode to every single item. I think it's like 150. Yes.
That's awesome.
It's a clever idea.
I love it.
All right, we're counting down the top 10 things of the week that made us go, wow. We have a super exciting surprise special guest for number 1. But in the meantime, we're at number 7.
Number 7.
So sad news, Julian Sands, the actor, they just found his body. He went missing a month or 2 ago. And
Blake, he went missing in January.
Yeah. It was right after Christmas.
Yeah.
Wow. He went missing in January, and everyone's been looking for him. He went on a hike, and
he was on Mount Baldy, wasn't he?
They recently found or human remains, and they were turned out to
Well,
be
can
him.
I just tell you the thing about Mount Baldy, though?
Tell me.
Mount Baldy is very famous for it is where the Lemurians live. Have we talked about this? The
Who are?
Lemurians were an ancient race of 10 feet, 14 feet tall white wizards who lived underground, and many people thought that they were aliens. And people often hike Mount Baldy to find evidence because sometimes the Lemurians will just sort of appear out of nowhere and guide you to your doom.
That's
So they're
scary.
still around, or are they
Yeah, well,
ghosts?
apparently, they say that the Lemurians still live. The ancient race of Lemurians still live underground at Mount Baldy. And I have a very good friend, Marlin Universe is his tag on Instagram, and he travels the world for looking for paranormal stuff. And he was just on Mount Baldy recently too. So I'm not saying Lemurians got Julian Sands. I'm just saying it's possible that the Lemurians got Julian Sands.
Well, weirdly, this is not that far fetched from what I was going to talk about. The 1989 movie Warlock. Have you guys ever seen it? It's a horror
with
movie.
Julian Sands. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. It has Julian Sands, and it also has Richard E. Grant. Do y'all know him?
Yeah.
Good character actor. And Laurie Singer.
I love Laurie Singer. I had a wonderful day I spent with her at DragCon one year. We sat next to each
Really?
other and we had a ball. Yeah.
You know, she's like some super smart Juilliard trained.
Hysterical. Yes.
Yeah. Well, anyway, so my notes about the movie. Number one, the worst wigs ever. VO5 called honey. Second note, the video effects were so weird, and it just freaked me out because so the movie came out in 89 at Con, which is weird that this movie came out at Con. And then
sometimes you can't really go to them for quality all the time. You really can't. I'm sorry.
well, I wondered if it had changed over the years or if it had always
no,
been.
it's always nuttiness.
Well, and then the other thing that it was released in the US in 91, but only 2 years later, Jurassic Park blew these graphics away, you know. Like when he flies, it looks like they took a screenshot of him and then just like cut it out in Photoshop. And
but you have to remember that this Warlock was like around the time of like Neverending Story and Legend and a lot of those movies that are so cheesy to look at, even like Labyrinth or something like that, where you're like,
oh yeah,
it was just the time, you know, and it hadn't really caught up. I do want to just say though that you know, Julian Sands is A Room with a View. I mean, one of the he was so beautiful and so classic in it, and he was also in Naked Lunch, which if you've never seen Naked Lunch,
oh, I want to
the
see
talking
that.
asshole. It's pretty, it's shocking still to this day. So I guess rest in perfection.
Yep, rest in
Julian
perfection,
Sands.
Julian Sands.
Yeah, he was a beauty in his day, and he's always been a fantastic actor.
He was hot in this movie too. It's streaming for free on Freevee if you so.
All right, that's Julian Sands gone too soon. Rest in perfection. Number 6, James.
Number 6.
Groomer has it. Groomer has it. I went to the movie theater over the weekend and I saw No Hard Feelings, the new JLaw movie, Jennifer Lawrence. And I know Blake, you saw it as well. It's a easy breezy summer comedy. It's not gonna win any awards. It's a fine way to spend the afternoon. I'm a huge fan of Jennifer Lawrence. I just love her. I could watch her read the phone book. She's so fun to me.
You know, this movie is what made me like really fall in love with her. I always kind of liked her, but then I was like, she's kind of like the Taylor Swift of actresses. Like everyone likes her. So, but this movie,
you had a knee-jerk reaction to her.
Yeah.
You're saying, But did you ever see American Hustle though? When she's
I
that
didn't.
like big '80s hair, and you
Mm-mm.
have to watch because she's absolutely hysterical as a big '80s sort of
Well,
like
she's
housewife.
hysterical in this too. It
Yeah.
was so
Yeah, she
good.
is very good at comedy. The plot is that she's an older woman. I mean, she's 32 years old, and they make like menopause jokes about her. It's so cruel. But there's a young kid who's 19. He's not socialized. He doesn't have any friends. He doesn't go to parties. He's going off to college, and his parents are very worried about him. So they put an ad in Craigslist saying, "Will somebody please date our son?" in quotations, meaning fuck him. And if you date our son, we'll give you a car. And her car breaks down and she needs a car. So she agrees to date this boy, and she's trying to seduce him, right? Which is where sort of the groomer things comes in. Because if it was a man, a 32-year-old man and a 19-year-old girl, every Republican would be, oh my God, this is disgusting. But because it's Jennifer Lawrence, nobody really cares. But the kid is absolutely adorable. His name is Andrew Barth Feldman, and he's got this huge nose. I think he's going to be like a one of the up and coming, actors of his generation. He's very funny. And throughout the movie they actually, bond and become friends, and they actually sort of fall in love, and it is what it is. But
But the good thing is that they don't actually fall in love at the end. I mean, well, spoiler alert, but like, because I was hoping that it wouldn't be that, because that's so like.
Well, they were going to fuck. They were down to fuck, and then things just keep stopping them at the last minute. And then by the very end, they realize he's going off to college. She does her thing, and they're just going to be friends. And it is a nice.
Yeah, but I didn't want them to end like with her moving to college with him or something.
No. They were never supposed to get together. But I just I do want to say that Blake, some other ones that you should be, Silver Linings Playbook. I don't think you should do that. That's not very you. But that's what she did get her Oscar for. American Hustler, Hunger Games, Winter's Bone. I mean, she really is always. It's always a pleasure to see her on screen. She's absolutely fantastic.
And she did that amazing Joy Mangano movie. I think it was called Joy, actually. David Russell, the home shopping. Yeah.
Yes, she was and that's another one where she's a funny 80s lady too, isn't it? Yeah.
I've seen her in the Hunger Games and I liked her. I've never seen her like really be funny, and this was good.
I do think you should check out American Hustler because it's pretty hot. It's funny.
Will do.
All right. Welcome back, Jennifer Lawrence. The movie is in theaters now. I am so excited about this. I'm going to just shoot my load and then be a spent husk. Number 5.
Number 5.
Once Upon a One More Time. This is the new Britney jukebox musical that opened in New York last week. Yes, opened in New York last week. Went to see it with Billy and Nolan and Elliot on the second night. Billy, who's the ticket whisperer, got tickets months and months and months ago. And I think the world is surprised at how brilliant, witty, clever, funny, and moving it is. And I want to say, though, this is not the first Britney jukebox musical, in the sense that And Juliet, which is not technically Britney songs, it's Max Martin songs, and Max Martin wrote many of Britney's hits. So, And Juliet, which is a brilliant retelling of the Romeo and Juliet story, using a lot of Britney songs. This, Once Upon a One More Time, is a brilliant redo of the fairy tale trope of the damsel in distress, or whoever it might be, rescued by a Prince Charming type. And in this musical, they have all the fairy heroines together. So you've got Snow White, you've got Rapunzel, you've got Sleeping Beauty, you've got the Little Mermaid, and
Princess
yeah.
I mean, that has been done a number of times.
Sure, but it works. I mean, that's it. The genius thing about Britney songs is how they can be arranged to create an emotional arc that will tell any story. And I'll tell you the other interesting thing is, that all her songs naturally fall into an order, so that you'll begin with Oops, I Did It Again, or What Hit Me Baby One More Time. Then you'll get to Oops, I Did It Again. You'll get to Toxic. You'll get to Stronger. Now I'm Stronger Than Yesterday, you know, and then you'll have the encore Till the World Ends. It's what she did in her stage show in Vegas. It's what they do in One More Time. It's what they do in And Juliet. But it works every time. And there's also, it hasn't been produced, there's also a musical out there called Spears, which uses Britney songs to tell the story of Jesus and his crucifixion and resurrection.
Oh, I love that.
Which I cannot, you know, unfortunately, that would be amazing.
I hope it's blackout heavy.
Well, they have Toxic. Actually, Toxic wasn't on Blackout, was it? They have Piece of Me, of course. More.
FUC Amy, right? Was that on Blackout?
They did not have FUC Amy.
That was actually
but that is on Blackout. And they did not have Get Naked. And
did they have Freak Show?
And they did not have Criminal. They did not have Freak Show. But they had, you know, Give Me More. And but I would say the star of this is unquestionably Justin Guarini, the American Idol, who plays Prince Charming, a vain, narcissistic, delusional, you know.
But you know, I mean, have you ever seen Into the Woods? Have you ever seen?
I know it does. Yes. Okay, fair enough.
The vain Prince Charming trope is out there.
But the lovely
Ever
twist
After?
is that he's cheating with all of the, you know, he's cheating with Snow White, Little Mermaid, Rapunzel, and Sleeping Beauty, and that's when he does the number "Oops, I Did It Again." Like, it's very, very funny, and I guess what happens is, the OFG, the old fairy godmother, the original fairy godmother, appears and gives Cinderella a copy of Betty Friedan's A Feminine Mystique. And this provokes a feminist rebellion. And the women, they all get together. They're not going to take it anymore. They're going to fuck over Prince Charming. There's a lovely gay subplot with Prince Erudite falls in love with Clumsy, the little person and they have a lovely gay kiss. It's just charming and funny, and
I do like Justin Guarini. I've seen him he was on Tamron Hall's show the other day, and he's talking about it, and he is adorable, and he's much more talented than I think we ever gave him credit for.
And his star-turning role as the Little Pepper Man on the Dr. Pepper
the Dr. Pepper commercials. Yes, he's so good. I do want to say, I was just at Ralph's the other day, the grocery store here in Los Angeles, and Toxic came on the speaker, right? And it was a Friday afternoon, and it was mobbed. And when I tell you that every single person in the grocery store started singing along to Toxic, old women, young kids, everybody had a smile on their face, and literally like 120 people were singing along to Toxic in the grocery store. And it's a testament to how much people just love Britney, and how, you know, that she's the icon of every era, you know, for 30 years.
Totally with you. And I think Toxic is a stunningly brilliant song for the ages. Especially there are many different versions out there, and there's one that's slowed down, and it's just so powerful. It's, you know, it's like, it's toxic. It really is like a drug or something. Anyway,
well, I think I might have already asked this question, but that's a great trivia question.
Okay.
Who was Toxic originally written for?
Ooh, this is a good teaser for a break. We'll have the answer when we come back. You're listening to the Wow Report on Radio Andy.
You're listening to World of Wonders Wow Report. Things that make us go wow.
Welcome back to the Wow Report. Fenton here with James and Blake. And that was a really interesting question.
Yeah, Fenton just talked about Once Upon a One More Time, the new Britney jukebox musical on Broadway, and I asked, who was Toxic originally written for?
I'm gonna have to. It could only be JLaw probably at the time who would get the first dibs on all the songs, right?
What about Taylor Swift?
Maybe,
Little before her time.
a little before Taylor. Yeah, because this was early,
Oh, yeah.
mid 2000s, I guess. Yeah. Who?
Kylie Minogue.
Really?
She missed
Kylie
that
Minogue
one.
on it. Yep.
But I guess she's making up with it.
I was gonna,
Making up
yeah. I mean,
with
it took 20
Padam.
more years, but she got her Padam.
For that. Let's carry on counting down the top 10 things that made us go wow. Number 4.
Number 4.
Have you guys seen the show Claim to Fame?
Yes. No. Yes. I've seen bits of it.
It is, EP and hosted by the other two Jonas brothers, Kevin, the one that's not Joe or Nick, and Frankie, the younger one. They host it. And basically the premise is all these people are related to famous people, and you have to guess who they're related to. Well, Tom Hanks' niece has a meltdown because she's the first one eliminated from season 2 of Claim to Fame.
Well, wait. So basically, somebody guesses who she is related to, and she flips out. Is basically what you're listening to, right?
She flips out on a whole nother level. She goes like ballistic because she says, even Gabriel got it, and he's stupid. And they show him, and he's like, damn.
Oh, I want her on every reality show. I think she is the new Omarosa. I think she
Yes, they don't need anybody else. They can just have her the whole time.
Yes. Just let her get pissed about something every episode.
She's on season 15 of Drag Race.
Yes.
I didn't even get to do any challenges.
Yeah. It's streaming on Hulu.
Right. All right. Number 3.
Number 3.
James.
I have been on a Nicholas Hoult binge this past week. I love him so much. I can't even tell you. The season 3 of The Great is out now. I don't know if you remember. It's Peter the Great, Catherine the Great. Elle Fanning is Catherine the Great. He is Peter. It is so raunchy and so bawdy and so funny and so sexy. And the scripts are so tight and funny. Fenton, I know you fell off of it season 2, and I was a little upset with you. Would you ever go back to it? And
I would. In a hot second, I definitely would, yes.
Oh, good. Okay.
That's one of those shows that actually takes time away, so you want to go back to it.
Yeah, I think season 3 is even better than the first 2 seasons because they're sort of they're in their groove right now, and the humor is just so off the wall and so modern, and yet so it's huzzah is still happening. It's so good. I also went and watched Renfield on Peacock, and Renfield came out a couple months ago. I don't know if you remember, and it was savaged by the critics. Audiences hate it. It sunk within a week. Nobody went to go see it. It got terrible reviews. It was much maligned, but he plays a modern Renfield who is the bug-eating slave of Dracula. And now it's modern times, and he's in a support group for people in toxic relationships, and he's trying to get away from Dracula. And he gets these superpowers, and he's trying to do good. And he's just absolutely adorable. He's like a young Hugh Grant in this. And I think about Nicholas Hoult, who, we first learned about him about a boy. Remember with the Hugh Grant movie when he was like 9, and then he was in Skins, which was the euphoria of its time in the early 2000s. It was a British teen soap opera. And then he was in Mad Max Fury Road. Remember that? He was painted white, and he was that creepy little guy. It was with Furiosa. Then remember Warm Bodies, the zombie love story where he was the zombie who fell in love with the girl. Right. Everything he does I just find him so wonderful. He was recently in the running for Superman, which I don't think he could have pulled off, but he was one of the 3 finalists. I think he's just the best that we got. And I go watch Renfield. Just give it a shot. It is absolutely adorable.
Renfield with Nicholas Hoult is streaming on Peacock.
And Nicolas Cage is Dracula, and he is just chewing up scenery. It's so funny.
That seems good. They look
Yes,
relational in a sense. You know, you could.
Oh, and Aquafina is in it too. And
Oh,
Aquafina, yeah. So I mean,
why didn't you say?
right? But also, if you haven't watched The Great, seasons 1, 2, and 3 are now out on Hulu. Please, it's my favorite show.
Thank you. Love that. Number 2.
Number 2.
Madonna was found unresponsive in New York, rushed to hospital with a bacterial infection. I mean,
living in a bacterial world, and she is a bacterial girl.
I think this is shocking news. And I just wanted to speculate or, send good vibes her way, obviously. But because we have tickets to go see the opening night of the hit tour. I know. We were going to go. We're going on vacation today. Was going to fly from Greece to Vancouver to see the opening night. Not anymore.
You're going where? We're gonna have to talk afterwards about your Greek trip. That sounds amazing. That is the bucket list of mine.
Never been to Greece, so very excited.
Oh my god! I'm so jealous of you.
I have friends that go every summer and love it.
I will send me some tips.
You go to Greece every summer?
I said I have friends that go every summer and love it.
Oh, anyway, but back to Madonna very quickly.
Yes.
I do think one of the good things that I've seen is, so often Twitter is such a hellscape now, and Facebook and everything, and people are so nasty, and they're especially nasty to Madonna. The ageism that she endures just frustrates me to no end, and the young kids who don't understand how important she was to us and what she did and everything like that. But since this has happened, I've seen sort of a tidal wave turn, and the support and the love, or the outpouring of love for her is heartening. And I do see people, I see more images of her. So, through the it seems like people are supporting her and they're loving her in a way that I think is wonderful. Because God, can you imagine a world without Madonna? I think that's shocked you. Yeah,
that's what made everybody suddenly pause, in this massive, misogynistic ageist laying on of Madonna. Suddenly it's like, oh, she is mortal and she could be gone just like that.
It was the first time I've ever thought, oh my God, there will be a world without Madonna someday. Just like, thinking there will be a world without Cher or it is the way of the world, but to be reminded of someone's mortality is
Anna Nicole's already dead.
Well, it's the same thing like when Elizabeth Taylor died or something. Like I could never imagine a world without her. I mean,
or Princess Diana.
Or Princess Diana. I remember.
Irresponsible though to ask if this is coded. Like, is bacterial infection the new suffering from exhaustion? Is there some other story here?
Or as if you go to the Daily Mail, the COVID jab got her. People are still on that one. The Fauci claims another victim.
All right, we're going to take one more break. And then when we come back, reveal the number one thing this week that made us go, wow. And it is a big, very special surprise.
You're listening to World of Wonders Wow Report. Things that make us go, wow.
Welcome back to the Wow Report. It's Fenton here with James and Blake. Tom is out this week, but we've reached the number one thing this week that made us go,
wow!
And ta-da, reveal.
Number 1.
It's Matt McConkey, co-host of Homophilia, but also host of Just Like Matt, the breakout podcast hit.
It is a juggernaut. It is insane. I am so jealous. When you said we were going to have him on the show, I said, absolutely not. Because I was
Matt, what is the secret to your success? I mean, just tell us, how did this happen?
Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you. All I ever wanted was for someone else to be jealous of me for a change. So that's the kindest thing that you could have said to me. But yeah, I mean, I've been doing Homophilia for years, and this all kind of started as a joke. Obviously, I'm a Sex and the City fanatic, like every other gay man that we know. And and a Just Like That fanatic. And my husband, Michael, just said as a joke, you should do a podcast called And Just Like Matt. And
So genius.
and so it all kind of evolved from there. But I did really conceive of it as just like a really informal, kind of just like shooting the shit with my friends, talking about these episodes, dissecting them the way that we were all doing over text after they aired anyway. But then we had Michael Patrick King on homophilia, thanks to all the magic of World of Wonder. I was like, let's just shoot our shot and see if maybe he'll talk to me one more time for this podcast. He's going to say no, because that was only a year ago. He's not going to do another podcast with me already. And he said yes quickly. And so suddenly he's the first guest, and it just becomes a lot more legit than I had any business making it.
Okay. I am that one gay man who is not, I don't hate it, but I'm not a fan of Sex and the City and Just Like That. So tell me read me to filth and tell me what it is, what is the DNA malfunction that why don't I get it? What is wrong with me?
Absolutely nothing is wrong with you. I don't know. I wonder if you got off on the wrong foot with the show. Maybe you watched some of the first season episodes when they were still finding their footing a little bit, and I'd be happy to sort of Sherpa you through a viewer experience. But I don't know. I guess it either hits or it doesn't. It definitely does for me. These characters are all about a decade older than I am. So when the original was airing, I was sort of looking into what I hoped my future would look like, wearing fabulous clothes and having lunch with my girlfriends in New York City. It ended up very much not looking like that. And now they're in their 50s and they're firmly in middle age, and they're dealing with loss and grief. And it's really just, for so many of us, family has been redefined by our found family, our chosen family, our friends. And that's really the heart of both shows, is the friendship between these characters. And they just happen to live really aspirational lives too.
Okay, well, I have two big questions here. The first one is, which are you, Charlotte, Samantha, Miranda? I mean, which one are you?
It's so hard. I think everyone thinks that they are a Carrie because we are all the main character in our own lives. But if I'm being honest, I mean, I like to say that I'm a Carrie sun with a Miranda moon and a Charlotte rising. Like, I do have a little piece of all of them in me. As much I love Samantha so much, she's the one that I can't even claim to be. I was never. I aspired to be as slutty as Samantha has been over the years, but I never achieved it. What about you?
Well, of course I'm a Samantha too, but if anything, if I really look in the mirror and really look at myself, I'm a Charlotte. I just am. There's just, I'm embarrassed about it, but it's true. The other question though is, where do you fall on Che Diaz? Well, to me, they are the fourth horseman of I don't get them at all.
Gosh, I mean, I have a real love for Che. I would say we're seeing a new side of Che in season 2, where we get to see a lot more of their vulnerability and the person who is behind all of this bravado that at times can be very annoying. Do I think Che is a great comedian? No, but there are so many famous comedians that I don't think are very funny. That doesn't make it any less of a compelling character for me. I've had to interview a lot of people who are promoting their comedy specials, and I've had to pretend that I'm a big fan of their comedy when I'm not. So,
I know. I've been on your show. I know what that's like.
Absolutely not, Fenton. How dare you? No, I don't know. I'm a Che Diaz apologist at the end of the day. Of the new characters, Che is probably the one I'm least invested in. I love Seema so much, who's Sarita Chowdhury's character.
Oh, yeah.
And LTW, who's played by Nicole Ari Parker. and Naya is played by Karen Pittman, and each one is just more fabulous than the next.
Can I quickly ask, are they still drinking Cosmos? Or what are they drinking? What do they
No, not since season 2.
Not in they drank Cosmos in one of the movies, ironically, because even by that point, it had already gone out of fashion, and they were sort of drinking
They said,
them
let's
in a
bring it
retro
back. I
manner.
think, yeah, it was in the second movie, yeah.
Apple martinis, yes. Apple
I have a
teenies.
question. I have a question. Who do you think wore it best for this season 2, the first couple of episodes of season 2 when they went to the Met Ball?
Oh God, LTW, no question. Lisa, Nicole Ari Parker's character had this iconic red Valentino, like silk chiffon with the train that goes on down a full block, and she has to walk down Park Avenue, and her husband has to carry the train, and she has this this like almost like Hellraiser Pinhead mask on her face of like red feathers that she clearly can't see through, and looked excruciatingly painful, but it was just like a look I will never forget. That one goes down in history.
But that brings me to one of my problems with And Just Like That, and it's that Pat isn't involved. And that first season, I really felt like they were struggling a little bit because a lot of the outfits just didn't play the same way, that with the ease and finesse that Pat brought it. Do you think season 2 is finding its footing without her?
Yeah, big time. And there's a great documentary about the making of season 1, but it focuses so much on the fashion, and you get to meet Molly Rogers, who's the costume designer, but
who worked with Pat for years and years
through the entire run, and she is a real character in her own right. And I think it's like it's still Sex in the City, but it has its own visual language, and they're still taking some risks that, I don't know. I think so much of the fashion from the original Sex and the City at the time was looked at as bizarre, but because it's just become such a part of our collective consciousness that now we can all recognize how great the fashion is. And so I think even some of what we're seeing now and Just Like That, we'll look back and go, yeah, you know what, that dress she wore in season 1 that I thought was a miss, she was onto something.
I was really interested by what Michael Patrick King said in your episode of And Just Like Mad, about how with the first season of And Just Like That, he said he broke Sex in the City. Yeah. He was kind of breaking the mold, and that in order to, in this season, return to a new vision, or can you talk about that?
Yeah, I mean, he was referring to, the death of Big, but I think that he quote unquote broke it in other ways that is really kind of beautiful. Like, I always looked at the kind of core 4 of the original one. There are so many parallels. Obviously, you could compare them to the Golden Girls. You can compare them to the characters from Girls. There are a lot of like iconic like quartets where there's some like neat parallels between the characters. But another one of my lifelong obsessions is The Wizard of Oz. So there's also a very clean, like, that Carrie is Dorothy, that Miranda is the Scarecrow, Charlotte's the Tin Man, and Samantha is the Cowardly Lion. But now we don't have Samantha, as we know. But in a way, between the changes that have gone on in these characters' lives, the loss of Samantha, the loss of Big, it's almost like what used to be one character's viewpoint as Samantha has been broken a little bit, but now it's like this cool mosaic where it's almost like the light is fractured in a different way, and everyone is kind of offering a different perspective that's just like much broader than it used to be.
Well, I think that thanks to your podcast, And Just Like Matt, I am going to start with season 2 of And Just Like That, and try to fix my broken game.
Wait a minute, though. No, you do this all the time, Fenton. I told him to watch The Boys, and you know what he did? he went to season 3, episode 4 and started.
Oh, no.
Like, what? Like, you've got to start at the beginning.
Yeah, you've got to be a completionist.
Who do you think you are that you can just jump in to the middle of things? No, go back to this episode 1 of And Just Like That, and then let us know.
All right. Okay.
Because you need to know the horror that is Che Diaz. I'm sorry. I'm just going to say.
All right. I will do that. And I will report back next week, James.
Yes, I need to know your take, Fenton. And if you're gonna watch, if you weren't watching and now you're watching, then my work here is done. My mission's complete.
Well, congratulations to you. Really, it's a fantastic success, and we are really thrilled for you because it's a wow
and
podcast.
Jealous. Yes,
it's really and we're jealous and thrilled and all sorts of feelings. But come back anytime. In fact, probably you should take over the show.
Would you please?
God. I will come back anytime. I adore all of you. And yeah, as you said, it is a WoW podcast show. So when I say I couldn't have done it without you, I mean, I literally couldn't have done it without you. So thank you.
And homophilia as well. So, I mean,
yes,
right.
You are a juggernaut.
You are. Hey, thank you, Matt. Thank you, James.
Thank you all
Blake.
so much.
And thank you all for listening. Come back, join us, same time, same place next week. Until then, go out and do something that makes the world go